The big beautiful bill is facing a bird bath starting tonight. No, not that kind of bird bath. A bird bath. I'm going to explain exactly what that obscure but super important procedure is in this video, why it could bring huge changes to the big beautiful bill, including to that controversial provision in the House version that would significantly restrict federal courts from enforcing contempt orders, and why it should matter to you. So for you to understand the bird bath, you need to remember, after the November election, Republicans decided they were going to use a controversial procedure called reconciliation to get President Trump's agenda passed through Congress. They are using reconciliation to pass the big beautiful bill. Now, reconciliation allows specific, and that word is important, types of legislation to pass in both the House and the Senate with just a simple majority. And that's a big deal because that means a reconciliation bill is not subject to the filibuster. So no need to get 60 votes. Just 51 votes would get it done. And in case you didn't know, there are 53 Republican senators. So technically, if they all stick together and vote yes, they could easily pass the big beautiful bill through reconciliation, but not so fast. First of all, Senate Republicans are not sticking together, at least not right now, when it comes to a lot of what was passed in the House version of the big beautiful bill. There's lots in it that they don't like. And on top of that, remember I said specific legislation. Well, that's where the bird bath comes into play. If Senate Republicans want to use reconciliation to pass the big beautiful bill, every single thing in it must comply with the Byrd Rule. And if it doesn't, that thing is out. The process of determining whether an item in a bill complies with the Byrd Rule is called the bird bath, like cleaning up the bill. The Byrd Rule is a law that only applies in the Senate. It does not apply to the House. And it says, if you want to use reconciliation in the Senate to pass your bill, the only types of provisions that can be included in that bill are ones that deal directly with budgetary issues. Any unrelated or extraneous provisions cannot be included. Those have to be cut out. Extraneous provisions include, for example, items that would increase the deficit beyond 10 years, or items that have no budgetary impact at all, like policy changes. And who gets to decide what violates the Byrd Rule? Well, in the end, it comes down to a judgment call by the Senate Parliamentarian. The Senate Parliamentarian is like the official advisor to the United States Senate. He or she is the keeper of all the quirky rules and procedures that govern the Senate. The current parliamentarian is Elizabeth McDonough. She is one of the longest serving parliamentarians in history and has been in that position since 2012. The parliamentarian is not elected. He or she is selected by a Senate majority leader from among the senior staff and serves at the pleasure of whichever Senate majority leader is in power. Obviously, McDonough has served under Senate Republican control and Senate Democrat control. She's been around a while. So now that you understand that, which provisions in the big beautiful bill may run afoul of the parliamentarian or the Byrd Rule during the bird bath? Well, there are several that you may be interested in, including that one that everyone is talking about on social media. You know, the provision that passed in the House version that has to do with the federal court's ability to enforce contempt charges. You may have also heard of it as Section 70302. Yeah, that's probably going to be ruled by the parliamentarian to be a policy provision, not a budgetary provision. So it has a very good chance of being cut. Now, perhaps the biggest item that may run afoul of the Byrd Rule in the Senate is the provision in the big beautiful bill that makes the 2017 Trump tax cuts permanent, which is like the centerpiece of Trump's new agenda. Senate Republicans are using a controversial accounting method to zero out the cost of those tax cuts. They argue because the bill is just extending an existing budgetary policy, technically that makes it budget neutral. But Democrats say that's absolutely ridiculous. They say if those tax cuts are extended, it would balloon the deficit well beyond the 10-year budget window. And if the parliamentarian agrees and decides that, yeah, it does increase the deficit past those 10 years, it too may violate the Byrd Rule. There are tons of other potential Byrd Rule problems in the House version of the big beautiful bill, including the AI provisions, the gun regulations, and the changes to Planned Parenthood. But beyond the Byrd Rule, the big beautiful bill has other significant challenges. Lots of Senate Republicans do not agree with what the House Republicans passed. Some Republican senators do not like those drastic Medicaid cuts. Others are not fans of the fact that this bill is going to increase the federal deficit by $2.3 trillion, and they want to see bigger spending cuts. Other senators want to restore the clean energy tax breaks that the House cut out, and others want to see the child tax credit increased. And at least one senator is a hard no because the big beautiful bill increases the debt ceiling by $4 trillion. So this Byrd Bath is going to play out for the next few weeks, and I'll keep you posted on what stays and what goes. And don't forget, if the bill passes the Senate with even one single change, it will have to go back to the House for another vote.